Hey, we're back here at the Epicenter once again, a series of in-depth interviews with renowned business leaders and industry influencers that are shaping today's digital economy. The show is now available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, as well as our site, www.epicenter.co. So, without further ado, I'm very excited to welcome to today's episode, Delbert Ty. Hey, Delbert.
Hey, Ronan. Happy to be here. Yeah.
Yeah, welcome to the Epicenter. Look, you're the CMO at Coffee Meets Bagel, and I'm sure some people have never experienced Coffee Meets Bagel. I'm sure people have had coffee and bagel, but they just don't know what it is. One of the things, and we'll refer to it as CMB during this podcast, but it seems that CMB has a pretty wonderful reputation of facilitating what we call long-term relationships, or LTVs.
Yeah.
Right? And the thing that kind of struck me a little bit when I was telling people that we were planning to do this Epicenter together, and I said, yeah, I'm going to have the CMO of CMB on Epicenter, and they're like, oh, my brother met his wife on CMB. And then I was like, oh, that's cool. And then, oh, my sister just got engaged to someone that she met on CMB. So what is the special sauce that CMB is creating?
Well, first of all, that's one of the perks of this job. I get people thanking me for helping them meet their partners. And in most cases, since I've only been here for a year, I had nothing to do with it, but happy to take the credit. But to your question, what is a special sauce? I think it's a couple of things. The first thing is CMB, since its very inception, has always been about helping people find serious relationships or long-term relationships. And that's really set it apart from a lot of the other apps out there. So if you think about most apps out there, they're a lot more casual. Now, doesn't mean that you can't find someone you want to marry on those apps, but given that CMB is specifically positioned for that, it kind of creates this almost like a flywheel effect where people think of it as a serious relationship, and therefore the people you meet there are more likely to want a serious relationship as well. Like, they're not necessarily looking for a casual thing. They want to find someone, for the long haul. And that's one of the things that's really set us apart and really drives this thing. The other thing that we do very specifically is just from how we design the app. Like, if you use like other apps, there's a larger emphasis on the picture, how you look. In some cases, like, that's the entire app, like that's the entire screen, right? For CMB, it's kind of like 50% that, but you see other stuff, like, how old they are, like where they went to school, what kind of job they do. And we see that that's actually a critical thing for people to make a decision. Is this someone I want to potentially meet, someone I potentially want to, spend the rest of my life with? And that's something that we hear a lot when we talk to people who found someone, and how CMB is different from the other apps. In an interesting way, it's kind of counterintuitive with the typical mobile app logic, wherein you want people to keep coming back, right?
Right.
But in CMB's case, we actually do not want them to come back. We want them to find someone and then just go. Because whether it's like you match with someone and you're chatting for a bit, for us, our North Star is actually dates. Because we think if you meet someone for a date, that maximizes the odds that you will really get to know this person and figure out if you guys, work together. So that's one of the things that set us apart. Now, how we reconcile that with, your business logic, like, why would you want people to go out and then not pay anymore, right? What we see is like what you've just shared, wherein people who find someone on CMB they are extremely vocal about sharing that. Like, hey, I found, my person on CMB. I'm super happy. We actually get a lot of inbounds every month where people are just sharing their happiness, sharing that they're going to get married, sharing that they had a kid, and it's a wonderful thing. And that actually drives this additional growth loop where because people hear about it, then other people sign up because they have the success case from their friend, from their network. And we see that in a lot of cities around the world, wherein we're not necessarily focusing on it or spending money on it to drive growth. It's just growing organically, which is a wonderful kind of thing for us because then your unit economics is great because you're mostly organically driven. The other thing that's really good about it is a credibility thing. Normally, as a brand, to create this sense of credibility, to create this sense of safety, which is super important for dating, right? Because if you're dating, you're technically meeting a stranger, you don't know what's up. And in this case, like the more people share, like, hey, I met someone, and the more it kind of validates the experience, like, hey, this is like a safe platform, this is where I can meet someone who I'll match with, things will work out. In fact, like I'll give you like a recent anecdote. Like there's like this Indonesian, I would say, micro influencer. Like she has maybe like 100,000 followers. She signed up for CMB, and within a span of 2 weeks, and she paid for the subscription. Within a span of 2 weeks, she found someone, and then she put her account on pause. And then she posted about it. She made, a couple of IG stories about it. And suddenly we see this gigantic spike. Like, and we're like scratching our heads, like, what's going on? And then so we see like our social media monitoring tools, and then we find that we got tagged in this thing, and then, oh, this is it. And then that's actually a pretty common thing wherein literally every week we have someone on the team investigating some kind of spike because there's some kind of mention or some kind of interesting anecdote that someone is sharing on social media, and that directly drives growth. So for us, this growth flywheel really works, and that gives us a lot more conviction to continue on this path. Like, hey, we're all about serious relationships. If you want to find a serious relationship, CMB is the best place.
So is it fair to say that the goal is to get people to stop using CMB?
Yeah, absolutely.
Churn your customer.
Churn. Yeah, exactly. That's in fact like one of the we have like hackathons internally, and then one of the cool ideas that an engineer suggested, and he's pretty passionate about it, is, hey, is there a way that we can monetize that happiness? Wherein if you found someone, maybe there's a way for them to give CMB a tip, or give back their beans, or give back
like a lychee, a hongbao,
something like that.
Yeah.
Exactly, just like what you mentioned. Yeah, exactly.
Give me dowry. Yeah, you put a dowry button.
It's a monetization idea. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, thank you, CMB, for helping me find the love of my life, and dowry, that's quite normal.
But it's actually an interesting question. Like, if you, imagine if you, you met your partner because a friend introduced you, right?
Well, what if, we're way off topic, but what if there was a way that an independent third party could actually put people together on CMB as like a kind of a matchmaker or something?
Well,
that'd be kind of cool.
That is interesting. So, I mean, we are kind of exploring something like that, like coming from this Hongpao idea, how you kind of give some sort of gratitude. Wherein, because like what we know, we talk to our consumers a lot, and we ask them, how many single friends do you have? How many of them are on CMB? And we do find that there are a lot of them who have found someone on CMB. They have friends who are single, and it's such an organic kind of thing wherein people will just ask their friends like, hey, maybe you should try this thing. So yeah, there is definitely an idea there how you can productize that. Like that's something that
You guys
we're
should hook
tinkering
up.
around.
Here, let me connect you.
And here are some extra beans.
Yeah. So, Delbert, you're a pretty young guy, right? And you're a young guy at the helm of marketing for a global app. It's not normal.
I would say, first of all, I probably look a lot younger than most people think. I'm close to 40.
You don't look a day over 30.
Well, I think about my career as mostly just a series of lucky events.
Talk to me about those lucky events. Chart
Like-
that course.
Like, if you think about like my career, so I've been working for more than 16 years, and I've actually just worked for 3 companies:
Okay.
Procter and Gamble, Circles Life, and now CMB. And all of those things, I would say, was just in a way a function of me being lucky. Probably the least lucky thing, the most engineered thing, probably would have been P&G. So I'm originally from the Philippines. One of the things that I aspired for as a student back then was I wanted to work outside of the Philippines. So I thought about like, hey, which companies facilitate these kind of expat assignments. And looking at my peers, my seniors, P&G was like a common denominator. So the way I thought about it, okay, how can I engineer my experience in school to mirror that such that it would increase the likelihood that P&G would hire me? So, go to join the right clubs, have a certain GPA, things like that. And obviously things within my control. I'm far from the top kind of student. I was like, maybe, top 30%, like that level. So I did my best to engineer like the kind of things that I had control over. And, thankfully I got in. And I would say like this is the first lucky thing. I was assigned on one of the biggest brands that P&G had in the Philippines, which is Tide laundry detergent. And this is
For those
really-
of you that don't wash your own clothes.
so that's the funny thing, right? Like I never washed like my clothes before that.
And here you are managing a
Like a
Detergent
big
brand.
detergent brand, right?
wow.
And that's super lucky because that's something that's outside of your control. It really is just a function of like what is the need of the business, and then who's available, yada yada. And then I was in that spot, and from there I was able to work on a variety of brands within P&G, which is again another lucky thing because most of my peers, at least, when you join P&G, you kind of, in a way, specialize in a particular category. So, okay, you're in laundry, or you're in hair care, or you're in shave care, or you're in a thing. And you kind of stay there and achieve some level of specialization. In my case, I jumped around. I was in laundry. I was on hair care. I was on batteries. So I was working on Duracell, which actually most people did not know was part of the P&G portfolio.
Neither did I.
So it was just super duper lucky. And the thing that happened that I actually think is one of the luckiest things that could have happened to me. And like this for me is super pivotal in my life. So I was working on Duracell, and this was the time when P&G had a lot of pressure from Wall Street, from activist investors. Basically, they were pushing for P&G to become a lot leaner, And that really triggered P&G to think about its portfolio and what to keep, what to divest. Now, at that point in time, the decision was made like, hey, let's divest Duracell. So I was in that spot. And after the divestiture was done, I was officially out of P&G. And then now in Duracell, which became like a standalone company. And that was at that point in time, like I was kind of feeling bad because like, hey, I was kind of thinking I'd stay longer in P&G, I'd try other, brands, categories, and all of those things. But then being in that spot really forced me to do what I wanted to do, which was get into tech. And the thing that I haven't shared this with like lots of people, but what happened there, almost immediately after the divestiture, I was asked to leave. I was given my papers. Now because P&G is
From Duracell.
yes, but because P&G is a really good at deal making, there is a clause wherein if you let go of people that you've just acquired, you have to give a really solid package. So that actually gave me runway to explore this new kind of industry that I have zero experience in. So imagine me, I was in Singapore.
Yeah.
I was given my walk-in papers. I was in a long-term relationship with someone who is now my wife. So I obviously wanted to stay in Singapore. And I also had like, rent to pay and all that stuff, right? And because of this, I had the runway to really explore, hey, what does my career look like if I shift from FMCG to tech? And that was like a really, at that point in time, I was feeling quite shitty. Despite the generous package, I was feeling quite shitty. Because it's kind of like, being the one being broken up with, right? It's not you who broke up with them, it's they broke up with you.
Right.
But in this case, I spent like 6 months unemployed, looking and thinking and really deeply reflecting on what I wanted to do. And in that span of time, I'm assuming that I could have just picked up the phone and, asked for any roles in similar FMCG roles. And I'm assuming that, I'd find a role like a lot faster, right? But no, I really powered through. And powered through lots of rejections, actually. And that's the thing. When you're from P&G, you think like, oh, you're a rock star. You are the best kind of marketer out there. And
You're the shit.
Yeah, you're the shit. Exactly. And yeah, I just got like a series of no's from lots of really, from big companies, prominent companies to startups. So I really leveraged a lot of my connections to understand, like, hey, what should I be doing? Talk to my mentors, ask for connections, like, hey, who's hiring? And I remember one specific conversation I was having with a friend. At that point in time, she was working in tech. She was starting a company. But she was, in tech for a while. So I asked her, like, hey, how do I break in? And her first question back was, what kind of tech did you want to do? And I was like, I had no idea. I mean, I came from selling soap. So I didn't know that there are all these like different, tech verticals, right? So that got me thinking, like, what did I want to do? And it forced me to really narrow down how I wanted to make sure that the company I joined leveraged the things that I knew and had experience on with P&G, but at the same time presented some kind of challenge. And one of the things that really made that clear was I had lots of peers, I would say, who left P&G and joined like big tech companies. And they were from marketing in P&G, but then when they joined these big tech companies, they weren't doing marketing. They were doing something else. And I didn't want to do that. I want to make sure like I was still doing brand. I was still handling, the business,
Staying
P&L
true to your
responsibility.
core,
Exactly.
your core competence.
Exactly. And through like towards the end of that 6 months of like that's the equivalent of me like wandering the desert and figuring shit out. And towards the end, I was lucky enough that I had like two options on the table. One option was with Circle's Life, and I got this opportunity because one of my ex-managers in P&G, she was friends with one of the founders. And the funny thing is she was saying, "Oh, I have a friend and he's starting this tech thing. I don't really know about it, but you guys should talk." So I engaged that conversation and then learn more about it. And then the other thing was an opportunity to join HonestBee. So HonestBee is now defunct, but at that point in time, it was way bigger than Circle's Life, way bigger. In fact, like something I tease my wife about is she was saying, "Oh, you should just join HonestBee," because at that point in time they had expanded regionally, and I eventually chose Circle's Life, and I credit this decision because I had so much time to really think deeply about what I wanted to do. And for me, what sold the decision was when I think about Circle's Life and the idea behind it, however nascent, at that point was really, like, no one has heard of Circle's Life. Like, people were like, "What? Like, are you joining an insurance company?" It was so nascent, but the idea was about disrupting this industry, which is basically a monopoly or an oligopoly in every single country. And as a result of that, there is zero incentive for this industry to do better. And therefore, it's a common refrain wherein wherever you go, whichever country, oh, there's like 3 or 4 choices and I don't like all of them, but I have to choose. So for me, there was no global de facto leader trying to disrupt the space. And therefore, it was, in a way, still a white space. It's something that I could contribute to in making that mark. And one thing I always kind of shared with the founder of Circle's Life is I wanted to be part of something that people would say there was a before and after. If you think about like major companies that's changed the way we live, like there was a time before Google.
Right.
There's a time after Google. There was a time before Facebook. There was a time after Facebook, right? So I wanted to be part of something like that. However unlikely that would happen. Again, it's not like I was joining and like, yeah, I'm going to change the world and it's definitely going to happen. So the way I just thought about it is there was a non-zero chance that I would be part of this thing as opposed to a zero chance, which I felt like in HonestBee's case, I felt like, hey, if you think globally, who are the leaders in on-demand service fulfillment, whether it's delivery, ride-hailing, whatever have you. There are a lot of these other players that has like a huge head start, millions and millions of venture-backed funding. So the likelihood is closer to zero that I would change something there as opposed to Circle's Life, and therefore that made it super clear that hey, I think this is the right thing for me, and that kind of paid off.
I think that's super interesting because what you're talking about is something that a lot of people are going through right now. And it's kind of like almost in the opposite direction, possibly.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people from the tech industry have been laid off recently.
Yeah.
Right? We know that. And, using your experience, I mean, and you've gone through this. I think many of us have been through it before. Maybe we're not as vocal about that.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone, who's just been laid off and does have that parachute,
Yeah.
of time, what would you tell them?
At the risk of sounding really corny,
Corny is okay.
do the thing that gives you energy. And I'm saying specifically gives you energy, not necessarily the thing that you like to do. Because there are many things that you like. Maybe you like to play basketball, but you're too short. You're never going to be in NBA, right? But do the thing that gives you energy and solves something. So for me, I kind of abstracted that. Like the energy, the thing that gave me energy was mattering. How do I matter? How do I do a thing that matters? How do I do a thing that I can, at the end of the day, say is attributable to me? How can I do the thing which I can say there was incrementality because of me? And, and this is like really coming from my own experience. Like, I love P&G. I learned so many things in P&G, but sometimes at the back of my head, regardless of how highly I thought of myself, and I do think highly of myself, sometimes I think like, would we have achieved the same result if it was someone else, like at the helm? And I couldn't say that without a shadow of a doubt. So for me, I wanted to do the thing wherein there was zero doubt it was because of you. And I was really fortunate enough to find that kind of role in Circle's life, to find the kind of partners with the founders who believed in what I could do, the ideas, the grit, the things that I could really push the business towards. And yeah, like that sounds very abstract, and I hope it's helpful. But to just make it tangible, the thing I share with people in general is take the time off and really like
wander that desert.
Yeah, that's a good callback. That's a good callback. Yeah, just wander that. It's so uncomfortable. It's really, really uncomfortable. I wasn't enjoying the time of my life those 6 months. I was not. It sounds like a vacation. It's not. I was, think about it. Like, I've literally spent almost a decade working every single day, and then now I'm not working and I have to figure out stuff to do. And yes, some part of it you can do like things that you would normally enjoy. I don't know, like play video games, go to the gym, but that's not going to eat up the whole day. So you have to, have the conviction to continue wandering that desert, because you can always take the out. Like, I could have taken that out, like, call FMCG companies and then apply. And in fact, like the way I thought about it, so that there was some kind of discipline in my thought process, was this is also my commitment to my wife. I'm sure my wife would not want to support a deadbeat for too long, right? So I told her basically, hey, I'm going to do this and this is my deadline. If at this point I haven't found something in the thing that I wanted to do, I'm going to be a big boy and then just do this other thing and then move on. So that's how I kind of created some kind of guardrail in my decision making.
So basically, go walk the desert, right? Take enough water, but know when it's time to get out of the desert and go find something. But don't settle for just a job, right?
Yeah.
Because jobs, I mean, we can all work.
Yeah, exactly.
Find something that you are passionate about, and of course that you're going to deliver impact.
Yeah.
And again, just going back to being let go from companies. Again, I know that a lot of people are going through a hard time, and probably this brings me back. Even I was working together with my brother once, and our shareholders asked my brother to fire me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's intense.
That's pretty intense. And yeah, it took a lot of guts from my brother, and I just made it super easy for him to say, okay, yeah, no problem. Don't worry about it.
That is intense. That
Yeah.
is intense. It's not some faceless person giving you your walking papers.
No, I mean, we were living together too.
Must have been an awkward couple of weeks.
Yeah, no, I was totally okay with it. I kind of saw it coming, but yeah. So I want to go. You touched on something that was pretty important. You talked about like making an impact and knowing that what you do can create incrementality, right? Let's take this into what you're doing today, right?
Yeah.
You're marketing a dating app. How do you, like, what is the framework that you as a marketer and using, the tools that you've acquired over these years of working, like, how do you put this to work in the company that you're in now?
So I'm so thankful for my experience because like whether it's P&G or Circles, I've taken something extremely tangible and extremely applicable that I can I literally like even day minus one, I was already, applying those things. Like for instance, in P&G, one of the things that I took away from that is this whole philosophy of the consumer's boss. They know what they're doing. They're making the choices. There's a reason for their choices. In fact, like one of my pet peeves is when I hear people say like, "Oh, the consumer is making an irrational choice. We can't understand. It's unknowable." And I think what might seem as an irrational choice for consumer is just insight unarticulated. They've just not been able to articulate it because it's intuitive for them. And as a business person, you just have to have that humility that you just don't get it yet. And if you talk to enough people, there is a chance that you will. But it starts with that humility that you just don't get it yet. So that's something that's super important to me. Like I took it with me in Circles. I took it with me in CMB. The other thing, like I found to be really, really an excellent way of thinking that I took from P&G is being principle based. Like I think very fondly about debates, discussions in P&G, wherein at the point of disagreement, you abstract the discussion to the higher level, to a higher principle. And if you don't agree there, you abstract to an even higher level at the point in which you agree. And then from there, the discussion can flow again. And to me, like this is so critical in how I think about things. I try to abstract things to the first principle as much as possible because that just helps me understand things in a way that I don't miss out, that it's a lot more exhaustive. So that's another thing I took away.
Do you have an example that maybe you can share?
So, for example, let's say with Circles Life, when I joined Circles Life, I was thinking about what it is that will drive growth. Okay, so normally, like what is like a gut immediate action reaction you would do? Oh, okay, like let's spend money in marketing. Let's spend money in performance marketing. That choice in itself can be abstracted. Why are you spending there? What happens when you spend there? Are you spending in the place where people will look? Are you spending in the place where people are in the mind space to engage? For example, then you abstract it further from that. Like, do you even need to spend? Like maybe they're naturally just looking. Maybe there's latent intent that you just need to capture. And then you abstract. So one tangible way is really just thinking about user journey. User journey is a very tangible way of thinking about growth from a first principles perspective because you're thinking about like, hey, how are they thinking about this? Like one thing that we would do in Circles is like let's think about SEM strategy, right? So typical SEM strategy, okay, like let's do brand terms. Okay, let's buy SEM for Circles Life. Let's do competitor SEM, right? Okay, that's basic stuff.
Yep.
To some degree, that's useful, maybe not incremental as much, whatever, right? But then if you think about first principles, it actually unlocks other things because it begs the question, at which point does a person think about switching? For example, when there is an outage, people are probably searching, is telco X down? Is whatever. By those keywords, that's an example that you're applying this principle-based thinking because, hey, that's how they think about it in the first place. They're not thinking about directly going to a brand because at that point, maybe it's too late. Maybe you're gonna have an uphill battle there. Right?
You're already trying to divert their intent.
Exactly. You want to capture that at the inception of the intent.
Yes.
Like another example.
That's good.
Another example is not my example. I'm just
That's okay.
having a chat with someone who was working in a startup that basically provided on-demand nannies for people with young kids. So they were thinking about their SEO strategy, like what's the content strategy. So they would think about at which point in the life cycle of a parent that they would think about having a nanny. Now, I've recently, fairly recently had a child. So my kid is now like 18 months old. And during the pregnancy phase or even before that, like there are a lot of things that you are thinking about, that you're searching, that you're looking for content that you can create content for, right? You can write some stuff about it. And I thought that was like a really interesting application of principle-based thinking. Because then, okay, like their strategy for growth would be, okay, let's hire some SEO writers, or I mean now you can use ChatGPT, but
That's true.
but yeah, like then you can get that organic growth like way ahead of the life cycle, because by the time the kid is there, like there are like a million things you wanna have that impression at the beginning, and so you're not just there at the point of action, because by then, like you said, like they've already had some level of intent for something else.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Thank you for breaking that down. I think that's very helpful, and I think people can learn from first principles, right? It's always what you can back it up to,
Yeah.
right? And that's where when you don't know or you disagree, and you go to the principle and you say, okay, well, that's our principle, and therefore that helps us to guide the decision that we make. And yes, you disagree, but because we, as an organization, we have to move forward, there's
Yeah.
the commit, right? I like that a lot. There's something that, let's shift back to a little bit more about CMB, because I hear that there's a pretty cool culture there.
Yeah.
And, you guys seem to be pretty proud of this culture. What is this culture?
I would say if I were to articulate it, is it's critical engagement. So one of the things that I talk a lot about amongst the team, in particular the leadership team, I love how we engage each other, we critique each other, and really understand each other. It's like think of me sharing like, hey, like this is a marketing plan, right? Obviously, as the like the expert there, whatever I say must be true, right? But then the way that I engage with the team is they're able to ask like thoughtful questions, and then they're really thinking through from their own perspective, and that creates so much value. That creates so much value because like as much as I know things, I can't know all the things, right? I have my own blind spots. And I see this as a really integral part of just how we make better stuff. Because then it doesn't matter if you're in finance, if you're in CX, if you're in engineering, like, hey, everyone has a voice, everyone has a perspective, you can engage. And I think one of the things that really help with that is there's another part of our the way we work is we're an async first, remote first, async first kind of company, and by doing that, you are forcing people to be a lot more thoughtful. And I absolutely love that. I really, really love that because, like, I'll give you an example for myself, right? Like, let's say someone shares something on a Slack channel wherein, like, this is a new product design for a particular thing. Now, what I would do is I actually don't respond right away. I allocate time for me to think and respond in a thoughtful way. And I think that is really value adding. So you're not just getting, off the cuff kind of engagement. You're getting critical engagement.
You're not just saying like, great idea.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like you're not just, it's like there's a funny Filipino slang that you would see in some companies. And I'm sure like lots of listeners could relate. The Filipino slang is mema.
Mema.
Mema. So, and it's short for may masabi, which if you translate in English is has something to say. So basically it's a reference to people who just has something to say for the sake of saying, as opposed to really wanting to say something and adding value to the conversation. And I think for us, given that we're async first, if you don't respond, it's okay. But if you respond, you can be a lot more thoughtful in that response. And I value that. I think like that's a great way of making sure people are engaged and that you're getting the best from everyone. And saving the last part, which I think is probably like the newest thing that we have in CMB, is we're also on a 4-day work week. And for some reason, this is actually a really contentious thing. When I share with friends, like, oh, we're on a 4-day work week, the immediate thing is like, how is that possible? You guys are slacking off. Like, and it's quite funny, like how visceral the reaction is. And when I share more about it, how, hey, it's possible because we have all these other things. We are async. We can be a lot more efficient with time. We don't have as many meetings. And we're super clear with our priorities. We make it the point that we do more with less. Like I have a like a anecdotal example to just illustrate the opposite of this. I was sharing this with someone in some kind of networking thing, and then this person was saying like, oh yeah, like my boss messaged me on a Friday night. Hey, do you have a minute? I need to talk to you about something. And then that minute turned into a 2-hour conversation. And in my mind, like, that's precisely why some organizations find the 4-day work week impossible. Because if you cannot discern a conversation that should be a minute and 2 hours, think of the level of discernment at the leadership level for someone to say this is a strategy and not this. At the higher level of abstraction, that's almost impossible. You can't discern between a 2-minute and a 2-hour conversation. How can you be expected to think of the difference between strategy A, B, C, or all of the above, right? So for me, like that's the thing, and for us, we make it a point to make a choice, hard choices all around. Otherwise, like you really can't do much, and in a way, like it's a part of that culture is like we work small. Like when I share with people like how big CMB is, like they're always surprised. Like globally, there's less than 60 people, and we're able to do so much with so little, and it's because of how we work together, how we have uh, documented ways of using tools. For example, like like with Slack,
You
I
guys have
hear
Slack?
no, it's Slack. Like I hear lots of people who say like, "Oh, I hate Slack. It's a bane of my existence.
Yes.
Like, it's the worst. It's the worst." And for me, it's if you're using it like WhatsApp and like instant messaging, yes, I can imagine it being super overwhelming because there's so many things that's going on there. But if you're approaching it through an async mindset, if you're approaching it wherein, hey, a message on Slack, even if you're tagged, doesn't mean you need to reply right away. And we codify this. We share this amongst the employees so everyone knows, so the expectation is clear. That's an example of a hard choice. Saying that explicitly that, hey, if someone messages you in Slack on a particular channel, you don't need to reply right away. Reply on your own time. And then there's a use case wherein maybe it's an emergency and you have to reply right away. But there's this distinction, that discernment.
How do you make that distinction in the communication?
So you make that distinction by setting examples. Like what is like let's say there's like a
Like I need a minute.
like no, like let's say there's a P0 issue, like
Okay.
something is down, or there is some consumer impact, something like that, right?
Yes.
People have to scramble. Yes, it's understood that this all hands on deck need to fix it, right? And there's a particular channel about that. There's a particular way we'll talk about it so that it's clear like this is a instant response kind of thing. But there is a use case wherein it's not, and it's okay. And it's defining what that is, making it clear to people so that you're enabling an environment wherein people can work at their own time. Not necessarily like it doesn't mean that working at their own time doesn't mean that you work slowly. It just means you're being intentional about what you're doing, when you get it done. In fact, like one of the things that I've done in CMB that's new, I've not done this before. I've not done this in Circles. I've not done this obviously in P&G, is I run the marketing team like an engineering team wherein everything is ticketed. Everything you do, please ticket it. Please ticket it. Please set a time when it's going to be done. So there is no follow-ups. Like one of the things that I would remember that I would do as a leader back then in Circles is like I would constantly ask people, hey, when is this thing going to happen? When is this thing? When is this thing? When is this thing? And I've stopped doing that in CMB because I've set this process wherein, hey, everything we do is ticketed. Put a due date when you think it's possible. And what happens is if you, as a team member, you think that's too late, then you have a discussion. Like, what kind of choices do we need to make it happen at this date instead of that date? Or if, let's say, life happens, something else happens, it gets pushed back, you declare it. And it's okay, like, no big deal. You move on, get your shit done. And this level of transparency allows us to work across time zones, asynchronously, with hopefully as little stress and more energy as possible.
This is pretty important because I think what you mentioned is creating accountability, right? It's creating this responsibility within the organization. Yeah, I think that everyone misuses tools, right? It's you can have a drill, right? And you can use that drill and drill a ton of holes in the wall, and right, that's what the tool is used for. But are you really going to do that?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah, exactly.
And the drill example came up because I think of recently our CEO became globally famous for drilling a hole in the wall and hitting a pipe,
Oh wow.
and water goes squirting all over the place, and it's pretty funny. I'll show it to you. Maybe I'll tag it in the
that's
show
that's
notes.
that's one way you go viral.
Oh, and he went like Japan even picked this up,
Wow.
featuring him on like a morning talk show. Yeah, it was pretty funny. But going back to the point of the tools, it's how you use it, and I think that you're right. Not everything is I have to reply now, and I think maybe if we kind of combine a couple conversations that we've had, if you're joining a new company, right? Maybe you should take a moment to observe the culture before you bring what you're used to into the culture, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's okay to observe and say, I'm going to sit on the sideline for a while, and I'm going to watch how the culture in this company is, and either adapt myself to this culture, or I'm going to speak to someone and say, hey, I see I've been observing, and I like this, but what do you guys think of that? Or why don't you do this? Why does the 4-week work week make sense?
Actually, I 100% agree with that. Like, I'll take it a step further. Before I joined CMB, I actually, this is going to sound really nerdy, but I actually created a survey. A survey that I sent to the people I'd be working with in CMB to get to know what they think. It was a pretty lengthy survey. I would imagine like it would take them like 15 minutes to fill out. And I really pushed for, like the CEO, please, share this with them. And, so I'll be able to understand like what they're thinking. Because like the worst thing I could do is go there and then say like, hey, I'm the captain now. And then like this is the right thing, that's the wrong thing, and kind of miss out on all the things that's working and like really make CMB what CMB is. So yeah, like 100% agree. Like you really need to understand like how to get the best of the organization that you're going into, while still amplifying it with what you're good at.
Have you seen some funny profiles on CMB? Things that you guys kind of. I mean, I imagine that you observe things and you have a giggle here and there.
Well, the thing is like in our internal our admin system,
God mode.
It's look, it's a back end system. It's not designed to look pretty, and it's not designed to be particularly easy to kind of see people's pictures and stuff. But I I see whenever like one thing that I did like as a process was I wanted to make sure that key people had an opportunity to talk to users. So we actually have like this automated system wherein it would just get scheduled in your calendar, wherein you have an interview with the user for like 15, 20 minutes, so people stay in touch. So what I do is whenever I have someone who I'm going to have a chat with, I'm going to check out their profile, I'm going to check out their pictures, I'm going to check out their recent matches. And then like after the chat, I actually give them specific advice like, hey, your picture here, your picture with the dog, it shows more of the dog than your face. That's not best practice. I think you be proud of your face, or get a friend to take a better picture of you. So I think that's something that I would do in these kind of chats. But I don't think I've seen something particularly egregious. If we do, we ban. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's quite fun, and I just want to talk about one last thing before we go to a quick fire round. You also are thinking about your own career endgame. What is that, and how did you kind of arrive at that thought?
So it's kind of evolved. At some point, I was thinking about an end game wherein I use my experience working in a big company, taking a company from 0 to 1. Like I think of CMB as a 1 to 100 or 10 to 100 kind of situation, and use that to be an advisor, consult. I do some of that now on the side, but the thing I keep on thinking more about these days is becoming more of a solo founder. So one thing that I've always thought about, and funnily enough, I just saw on my Twitter feed this chart where it basically charted the revenue of a particular company and then the amount of people it required to produce that revenue. And the chart was basically on a time series, and then it was going down, like the number of people you needed to, I don't know, reach like a million ARR, like just was going down and down and down. And I think with AI, all these automations, it's becoming more and more of a reality. It's not sci-fi. And if you just think long term, like hundreds of years, that is a trend. That is a mega trend, wherein companies are able to produce X amount of revenue with just less and less people. So that's actually something I've been thinking a lot about, and one of the reasons why I picked up coding. So I taught myself. I was thinking, hey, if I have free time, instead of watching funny videos or whatever, let me watch coding tutorials. And I actually like built a side project. It's a free Google Workspace add-on, and it's something that it's like a nerdy thing I got super into, like just being productive. So one of the things that I've done when I joined CMB, going back to the ticketing system, I take my ticketing system to a whole
New
higher level,
yeah.
which is I actually use tools wherein it will take the task from Asana and then assign a time for me. So I'm not choosing the time. It will just assign a time for me on my calendar. So it will block it. So then my calendar becomes like like just a intimidating block of a lot of things. And so what I figured was this needs to be color coded so I can, have a glance. And I was like Googling, hey, how can you color code your calendar? Da, 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 da. And surprisingly, there was no straightforward answer. So I made that Google Workspace app, which just automates it for you. You select the color for your one-on-ones. You want it red. All your one-on-ones become red. Team meetings, yellow becomes yellow. And that's it. It's nothing fancy, but it was a fun weekend kind of project that I did. Like the time to build it wasn't very long. The time to get it approved in the workspace marketplace took months.
I'm gonna have to check it out because I'm obsessed with color.
Oh wow!
My calendar. Yeah.
Yeah. Just check it out. It's a plug. So it's a Plantone, PLANTONE.app.
Great name too.
You should. My wife deserves all the credit. I came up with like a series of names. I even used Chat GPT to come up with more names. And I asked my wife, hey, can you take a look at this list of names and which one do you think is nice? And she said, all of them suck. How about this name? And I was like, that's it. So she deserves the credit.
Oh, I love that. Cool. How about some quick rapid fire questions? Are you ready for this?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. Coffee or bagel?
Coffee.
Why?
I need that burst of energy. I wake up 5 a.m. in the morning.
Okay.
So I need that coffee.
What is the most interesting thing that you learned about your own DNA while you were at Circle's Life?
How much I can push the boundary of outrage. So I did a lot of funny things at circles, which some of which worked and drove viral growth. Some of them fell flat. But yeah, I had a lot of fun either way.
Drive like you stole it.
And exactly.
What's the best thing about the Philippines?
Sisig.
Sisig.
Sisig. I can't it's the thing I miss the most living in Singapore. Not having good sisig.
And who is the most inspirational person to you?
It's gonna be a corny answer, but I would say my wife. So I'm inspired by my wife, how she is just balancing her exceptionalism at work, at everything that she does, at taking the lead in raising our son. It's just and yeah, dealing with me.
That's awesome. Shout out to your wife. You wake up at 5. So what's your morning routine?
I wake up at specifically 5:50. So the alarm is set 5:30. I press snooze exactly 3 times. So I'm up 5:50. And then I wash my face. So I'm a bit more awake. Then I turn on the Zoom. So I have my meeting.
Wow. Well, you talked about sisig already, so I know your favorite food, don't I?
Actually, no. That's my favorite food is smashed cheeseburger.
Smashed cheeseburger. All right.
So it's the In-N-Out style. In-N-Out style.
Awesome. And my last question for you. A table for 4. You plus 3. Who are those people?
Mindy Kaling, SBF, and Sam Altman.
Sam Altman. He's pretty popular right now, isn't he?
Yeah.
ChatGPT. OpenAI. Delbert, this has been amazing.
It's been fun. It's been fun, man.
Thank you so much.